Iga Swiatek. Iga Swiatek is an absolutely incredible informed player right now. The 20-year-old from Poland has now won 28 matches in a row and 5 consecutive tournaments. She, of course, missed Madrid last week, so she didn't play it. Probably would have won that, to be honest. No, in all honesty, though, it's been incredible. It's been absolutely incredible. I can't believe how well she's been playing. There was a massive black hole left by Ash Barty when she retired. Iga Swiatek just said, "You know what? Actually, I don't want to share this. I'm gonna take over now. You guys are gonna have to try and up your game." And she's just taken over now. The only other player really who's been able to keep up with her somewhat, although let's be honest, I think to a lesser degree anyway, is Ons Jabeur, who won Madrid last week. She also made the final here in Rome. 6-2, 6-2 was a scoreline. Now I have to say that Ons Jabeur plays some really good tennis at times, some really, really good tennis. Iga Swiatek's just way too strong, way too strong. We're going to break it down, of course. We're going to talk about it post-match. We're also going to talk about what this means going into Roland Garros. We will be doing a WTA Power Rankings, our final one, at some point this week. So it'll be towards the back end of the week, most likely. So our final WTA Power Rankings for Roland Garros. So do stay tuned for that. Before we get into everything, though, please do remember to hit that like button, please, if you haven't done so already. It really does help us out. And do subscribe if you're new, if you're a YouTube watcher or listener. If you're a podcast listener, please remember to leave a rating and review, or do subscribe if you're a Google Podcast listener as well. Cool, let's get into it. This is exactly the final that I wanted. I wanted Iga Swiatek versus Ons Jabeur, and it was a really good yardstick for me to see exactly where Ons Jabeur is at, because she won Madrid last week and played some extremely good tennis. Was a standout player, I think. And I think on the clay, I'm happy to say that she's probably the second best player for me. And I don't know whether she'll be the second favorite for Roland Garros, but to be honest with you, she's probably going to be relatively up there. I'd say she's going to be top 3, top 5 at least. You have to wait to see what my prediction is and what I think she should be in terms of, what I think she should be in terms of the power rankings. Iga Swiatek, though, she is playing some inspired tennis right now. Now, this is a woman in Iga Swiatek who won Roland Garros as a teenager. A lot of people said, "Oh, is this going to be a one-hit wonder?" I don't think it's going to be, because she may not have won another Grand Slam yet, but I tell you what, it's coming, and it's going to come this year. I'd imagine it's going to come this year. I wouldn't be surprised for Roland Garros, but I also wouldn't be surprised if it was Wimbledon and the US Open at the moment. The way she's playing is this type of brand of tennis is all court tennis. Yes, she's probably the most comfortable, I think, on clay from what we've seen. But it's not just that. The revolution of her game has been incredible. She's completely evolved from a player who was more of a counter puncher, someone who, I guess was looking to see whether she could force opponents into mistakes. That's how I perceived her game initially when she was on tour. Consistent, high topspin, and I can defend pretty well as well. I'm a good returner. I'm not going to rely too much on my serve. It's going to be more of a rally starter for me. Watch her this tournament, and if you haven't watched this match, by the way, I really recommend watching it, because either watch the full match, even watch the highlights. If you just want to watch the highlights, watch the highlights. I'll tell you what, they're really entertaining as well. Iga Swiatek has improved so much in different areas, and the first thing I want to touch upon is the forehand. The forehand is something that in recent times has just become a powerhouse for weapon. I feel like maybe that's come about since the Australian Open lost to Danielle Connors in the semi-finals. I reckon, and from what I've heard, her team have basically tried to make it a more aggressive weapon, a weapon that she's not going to only be able to utilize it effectively on clay, but on all courts, right? And she's done that. She won the Sunshine Double. She's now won her 4th WTA Masters 1000 tournament. On top of that, she won Stuttgart as well. So she's won, 3 She's won 3 clay court tournaments and 2 hard court tournaments since. What do you want to say? I mean, it's just incredible, absolutely incredible. And the forehand is just, she rips it. She genuinely rips it. And it reminds me a little bit of Novak Djokovic, who I guess had a similar, not problem, but a similar kind of, you know, thing to sort out on the forehand, which was, look, am I going to commit to just playing like this, which is, or the forehand side, which is, okay, it's going to be solid and deep, but not really hurtful? Or do I try to evolve and have different looks on my forehand where at least I have the option to be hurtful on the forehand? I have the option to go more defensive. I have the option to be kind of more neutral, different kind of types of spins on the forehand as well, higher topspin forehand, less topspin, more coverage over the net, like different looks where I can hit forehands in different scenarios when I need to. And, it's going to get me out of trouble, or it's going to put me on the front foot. It's basically going to get me into a position where I'm able to get to neutral and then on the front foot as soon as possible. He's done that, right? And over quite a few number of years, and it's been really impressive to see the evolution. He takes with it now. He obviously won Rome as well, on the men's side. And Swiatek, though, for me, has done it over a very short period of time, which makes it even more ridiculous to say. Yes, she hasn't won 20 Grand Slams, so there's no point comparing the two, but I'm comparing them in the sense of just the isolated shot that is the forehand. And I think her forehand has become an incredible weapon. And that's not to say that she's just crunching it and crunching it and crunching it. Yeah, she does at times. There were times against Jabeur where Jabeur was dragging her out wide. And you might think, well, surely she's just going to go cross court, but loopy a high topspin. She'd actually almost slapped the forehand very flat cross court and backed herself to actually almost get onto the front foot from what was a very difficult position, but she trusted her running forehand. And then that got her onto the front foot straight away, pushed Jabeur back after. Jabeur was probably thinking, hold on, I'm on the front foot here. How has she managed to push me back? So, yeah, it was a really, really interesting development. I think in the last few months is that forehand. It's been great to see as well. I think, and generally as well, when we're looking at it, her forehand has become this weapon that a lot of people now are looking at and thinking, we don't want to be going into that forehand loads. Before, it was something that would potentially break down at times. Now it's super solid. She doesn't make many mistakes on it, different looks, and the backhand is solid as ever. The biggest issue I think Jabeur had as well in this final is not just that, but I think Jabeur, she did look a little bit fatigued in the final. She struggled with her serve, especially in the second set, and she had, of course, played a lot more tennis than Swiatek. And yes, I think her path had been slightly harder than Swiatek's. She played obviously a lot of 3-setters, but I don't think it would have changed the outcome of the match. It might have gone to 3 sets. I backed Swiatek in 3 sets. It might have been that. It might have even been, a closer 2-set win for Swiatek. But either way, just the way she was playing, it's just impossible. She started off so fast in both sets. Jabeur was barely able to kind of get into her stride at times. The drop shot, unfortunately, didn't really work for Jabeur, and that's because, and I did talk about it in the preview, the conditions. I mean, it's in the day, it's baking, high bounce, playing the drop shot. It has to be perfection, especially against someone like Swiatek, who's one of the best movers on the tour. She's so good at sliding as well on the clay. She got to so many of them. Jabeur had a very, very limited success with the drop shot, and that is one of her biggest assets. But Swiatek just ate it up, really, and it was really, really impressive to see. I did like, though, that Jabeur tried to come to the net and be more dynamic as well. Obviously, at times it didn't work. Swiatek with some fantastic passing shots. The first volley from Jabeur wasn't particularly good, or wasn't good enough anyway. And Swiatek just kind of, obviously, then in the end ended up winning the point. Swiatek in turn also came to the net a couple of times. Jabeur passed her beautifully, but then also a couple of nice volleys from Swiatek as well. So it was just great to see this two players who are clearly in form, playing some really impressive tennis, and there were some grinding points out there. There were some points of real high quality, and it was just a shame that Jabeur maybe wasn't quite at her tip top in terms of physically. But in saying that, we'll see. We'll see. But yeah, 11-match winning streak over for Jabeur, but for Swiatek, she carries on, right? I mean, 28 matches won in a row. Bless me. But Jabeur rises to number 6 in the world, which is a career high, which is great. And look, I mean, Swiatek, I just don't know what to say. I mean, I'm almost speechless at times when I think about how well she's playing right now, because the fact that she's just won so many tournaments, it's just unbelievable. Like, how can you win so many tournaments in, I mean, 28 matches? 28 matches that you've won in a row. And the more she wins, the more confidence she's going to gain. The more confidence she's going to gain. She's going to get more and more confident. She's going to become harder and harder and harder to stop. It's almost going to be impossible to stop her if she wins Roland Garros after that. I just have no idea. The only thing that people are going to have to count on is that maybe she gets to the grass and then, you know what, she doesn't maybe move as well. But then she won Wimbledon as a junior. She can clearly play on the grass. So, I don't know. It's absolutely crazy. But yeah, I mean, serve as well. She's bulked that up, which is great. She's able to have better, I think, traction through the court. And it's just great. It is incredible to see. And I think on top of that, not only is she serving better and bulked up that serve, I think the kick serve obviously on the second serve is really good. The kick serve is really, really good on the second serve. And it's obviously one of the best on tour. I think Jabeur, to be fair, for the most part, was pretty good at returning it. But Swiatek on the 1+ plays, she's just so, I don't want to say aggressive because that sounds like she's really going all out and then she's missing some shots potentially as well. But let's say it's a calculated aggression that is so incredible to see on a clay court. And a lot of times people go into it on the forehand. She did at times, but the backhand up the line was beautiful from Swiatek. And Jabeur also has an equally incredible backhand up the line, but Swiatek was soaking it up, and defensively, she was just able to counteract it on the forehand side. Like she was getting across really nice to the forehand, defensively getting back into the rally. That would have frustrated Jabeur, and she almost had to try and blow her off the court at times. And it did work, obviously, but then at other times she'd make mistakes because you can't play at that type of intensity and hit the ball that hard and expect to not make mistakes, right? So Swiatek, she's just got such a good all-round game right now. It's very, very tough to say who can stop her, and I don't know. Does Ash Barty want to come out of retirement and give it a go? I don't know. But apart from that, I don't know. Yeah, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy to see. So what I would say is that Swiatek is just, yeah, an incredible player. And it's great to see the way that she's improved her game. She's continually looking to strive to evolve. Jabeur as well, incredible to see her get some form as well. Really show what she's made of, winning Madrid last week, making the final this week. I have really high hopes for her at Roland Garros as well. I think we'll see both of these girls go pretty deep, I would imagine. But let's see how we get on. It depends on the draws and stuff as well. They always play a big part. Iga Swiatek, though, she equals or levels up even the head-to-head at 2-2 now between the two. And she goes into Roland Garros a heavy favourite. Thanks very much, guys, for tuning in. Let me know what you thought of the final as well, of course. Do remember to hit that like button, please, if you haven't done so already. And do subscribe if you're new. If you're a podcast listener, do remember to leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Anchor, and all that good stuff. Thank you very much, guys. Stay safe and well, and we'll see you on the next video.